My name is Francisco Alvarado-Juarez. I'm a visual artist, a photographer, a painter, an installation artist, a video artist. What you're seeing here is a video project I have been working on for the last 4 years. And I began my career as a visual artist, having discovered photography. I became familiar with photography after having tried writing for a while and realizing that that was not a field that I could excel in. I have been working with supermarket paper bags for quite a while now. In the early 1980s, I worked with paper bags for a while and exhausted the idea and then abandoned it and retook it about a decade later, but did something different with them. At this point, I used the paper bags. I painted them different colors inside and outside. I hand cut the bags, creating a bag that was unique. Each bag is a different entity. There are no two bags that are the same. And in some exhibits, I have used as many as 4,000 bags. The bags are real organic matter. It's a matter that has been transformed in the process. I have used a vulgar common day object and in the process have made it alive by creating these organic forms that when placed in an environment, the humidity of each gallery makes them contract and expand, and they are constantly changing depending on the space and the time that they're there. So when you see an exhibit, it's not always going to be exactly the same all the time. The bags also create a psychological impact that goes way beyond the size of the actual bag. In fact, when you walk into a space and you're bombarded by these thousands of bags, it reduces your space and it makes you feel like you're cramped into a space and you feel a tension. And at the same time, the bags are also serving a very different purpose. They create a way of hiding the images that are painted on the walls so that you're not quite seeing everything all at once, as if you were walking in nature. When you walk around the woods, you don't see everything at once. In fact, you may step on something without even knowing that you're stepping on something. So in these exhibits, I am actually asking the viewer to participate by walking around the space and examining each area of the space and discovering something, because there's something there to discover. In every little area, I have created a little surprise for everybody. the stencils on the wall unify the exhibition. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of stencil images on the wall, depending on the size of the exhibition. And these stencils have to be painted, of course, by all these people that work with me. And there is no short way to do it. It takes a long time to paint them. And very often, these stencils get almost covered up by the bags. From this wall to this wall, this could use a little more, at the bottom or at the top here. And maybe another loop going the other way, going into this wall, and something here, a little bit here, and a little bit there. Or if not covered up, they get camouflaged to the point that in order for you to see them, you have to literally walk into the space and slowly go around the area, looking into all the cavities where the bags let you see through to the wall, and you may find some surprises. I have worked on two installations in particular that had titles like Endangered and Natura Frágil. And they are comments on the ecology. Natura Frágil, very specifically, talking about the fragility of the environment. My work has been dealing in the last 10 or more years, in part, dealing with ecological themes, and they are done in a way that may not immediately be apparent to the viewer. For instance, it's not always apparent that the drawings of the animals in the exhibits have been torn apart and reconstructed, leaving the tear of the drawing exposed and painted all in the same hue, in tones of browns. And that is a unity, that is a unifying factor that is the same unifying factor that comes into play when I work with stencils on the wall. The human eye, I think, has a need to recompose the images that have been torn apart and exposed on the walls. You want to take it a little more, or are you comfortable with the height? I may have to take it a little higher. You want to take it up? I have that. So now let's see. We're still pretty good there.
image sometimes have been seriously mangled. In other words, the head of a creature could be in a completely different place where it should belong. People have a desire to put it back together, maybe because it makes us feel more comfortable. Initially, I believe that people walk into the installation feeling seduced by the color and by all the stuff that's laid down, all the debris that's laid down on the floors. Almost like they maybe are at the beach collecting shells, and some people think that they can even take the shells home.
I'll see if I can be worried about where if it falls perfectly on the edges of this mount here. It's just that somebody has to go around and tighten it up. Okay? There we go.
In the last few exhibits, I have used sound as another way of invading your senses. You are getting this big visual overload when you walk into the installation spaces. You're now getting an audio overload. There's also a sense of smell that's part of the work because I have collected shells and residue from the ocean. Because the ocean shells still had little elements of organic matter in them, when they were transported to the museum, they had a smell. And it gave you the sense of being outdoors. It gave you the sense of being at the beach. It gave you the sense of being part of nature. In some places, the museums get a little bit overwhelmed by the fact that this place smells. But I think it's great that it smells because it really adds a new dimension and people can participate in the way that is meant to be outdoors. You know, it's not supposed to be clean and sanitized. The sound of whales in these installations, in the recent installations, has been a wonderful discovery, partly due to friends that have given me soundtracks of different animals. And the chorus of whales, which I'm using as a soundtrack, is a very strange and wonderful experience because it gives you almost an unearthly quality to them, almost like you're hearing some ghostly things from outer space or something. And part of that has to do with the fact that we have very little understanding of other species. And we're trying to understand them to the point of trying to capture or at least make sense of how some of these animals communicate. But they walk in this installation and they are attracted by the color, and they don't realize immediately, or they may not even realize at all, that there's something seriously wrong here. All the animals have been torn apart and reconstructed, and in reality, all of them have been violated. And that is the only way that I know so far to give you a metaphor for the destruction and the reckless attitudes of human toward our environment. Whales have a highly sophisticated level of communication which we yet to understand, and it's fascinating to me simply because is I don't know what's going on, and I realize the complexity of what is going on, and that in itself calls attention to my imagination. The complexity of the whale sounds certainly complements the visual impact that you are experiencing at the museum. And part of that may come into you in a variety of different ways, but one of the anecdotes that I heard in my most recent exhibition in Mexico was that somebody walked into the exhibit and they felt from the sense of smell, because of the sound track and because of the intimacy of the space, that they were inside the guts of an animal. In fact, they had walked inside of an animal. And that image is quite an attractive image to me.